Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Internal Audit Insights. Today, we're going to be talking about reconsiderations of value. I'm Mignon Davis, and I'm joined by Cassidy Tim. Together, we run Internal Audit here at Freddie Mac. All right, Cassidy, let's dig in.
All right, so as many of you I'm sure are already aware, additional guidelines surrounding the reconsideration of value process was announced. So today we're going to dig into some of these requirements a little bit and also talk about some of the conversations that we're having with clients. So this went into effect 10/31 of 2024, and this was an extension of the original date that they had come out with of August 29th, 2024. So they did kind of push it a little bit to give lenders a little bit more time to get this up and running, which I think from what I've heard, that was appreciated. And it is effective for all Fannie, Freddie, and HUD loans. And if you want to dig into these requirements, you can kind of refer to the mortgagee letter 2024-16, or the original one was 2024-07, which was from May 1st of 2024.
So two disclosure requirements are spelled out in this new requirement. The first disclosure requirement is similar to how you have to notify their borrower of the right to receive the appraisal within 3 days of the application. Now you also have to notify them of their right to request a reconsideration of value, and that also needs to go out within 3 days of that initial application. Now, the second disclosure that's required is when the appraisal is presented to the borrower. With that, a detailed reconsideration of value process needs to be outlined, and that should include expected ROV processing times and how the borrower can initiate that request. All of that needs to be included in that disclosure, and that's when the appraisal is presented to the borrower. All right, so understanding the general idea of these disclosures, Cassidy, what are we seeing clients do or implement to handle this new requirement and get up and running with it?
Yeah, so really, I mean, to be honest, every client is kind of taking a little bit different approach. So we'll kind of see over time what the best practice is and see if it kind of melds the same over time. But first and foremost, if you're using an AMC, you need to make sure that you're coordinating with them on this process, talk with them, see if they have examples of disclosures. And the nice thing about that is those disclosures are also going to fit with processes that they follow as well. And then also making sure that you're considering that if you are using an AMC, and a lot of times we see clients having the AMC deliver these appraisals to the borrower, making sure that you're working with your AMC to determine and figure out what your process is going to be are they going to include that additional documentation when they send it out? Or are you as a lender going to have to make sure that you have a process to send that out, or kind of follow up on the back end to provide that to the borrower? Also keeping in mind the ROV process is different from company to company. So the way it looks for one company isn't necessarily going to be the way it looks for another, and that's okay. But you need to make sure that how you're detailing that process to the borrower, that it's truly is how you handle it, and not that you're kind of trying to take how someone else is doing it and disclose that to the borrower, but it doesn't follow your actual process. And then another thing that is interesting is some are also providing that request form to actually fill out the ROV when they're providing that appraisal delivery. So rather than just saying how you can fill out the form, they're providing that form up front. So it's really clear to the borrower, like, hey, if you want to go ahead with this process, fill this out and return it to us.
All right, all good points here. Okay, so from a QC standpoint, what we are seeing clients doing is adding their process to their QC plan that's required. So the standards for the appraisal review and the ROV process must be clearly defined within your QC plan. And then we're also seeing clients add fields that are reportable and trackable within their LOS system, and submitting those data fields to the QC vendor so that the QC vendor can include them in their testing. Cassidy, anything else that we should consider?
Yeah, so just to kind of highlight a couple things that maybe we haven't specifically touched on, just to keep in mind, only one ROV request may be submitted per appraisal. So make sure you don't you're not doing multiple. The lender must retain all ROV requests and responses for future reviews and auditing. So you need to make sure you have a process, that this is being retained, documented, and that you'd be able to supply that if you were asked for it. And then the lender must review all ROV requests prior to sending to the appraisal. So you need to make sure you have a process to look at that request, make sure it's valid before just sending it off to the appraiser. And part of that is no cost associated with an ROV may be charged to the borrower. So also that process of reviewing the request needs to make sure that, before you as the lender take on that additional expense, that you're not just pushing it off to the appraiser and accruing those. And then lastly, making sure that you're establishing protocols for communicating with the borrower, such as acknowledging the receipt of the request, giving them updates on the status of the request, and then also ultimately the results of that ROV request. So you need to make sure you're communicating with the borrower and keeping them informed of what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point there, is just keeping the borrower informed and making sure that they know throughout that ROV process what the status is, what's going on. I think that's really important.
Yeah,
All,
absolutely.
yeah. All right. Well, thank you for your time today. We hope that you found this information beneficial. If you have any questions or would like to discuss how Richie May can help you, we would love to talk to you. Please contact us. And next time, we're going to dive into another one of our internal audit hot topics. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you next time.